Welcome back. You are listening to the Mario Mukwanda Show on Salam Media. It is 12:31 on this Thursday, the 16th. Is it the 16th? Yeah. On this Thursday, the 16th of July 2020. So we are going to be discussing black tax. Is it a burden or a responsibility? So joining me on the line right now is Tamsang Chuma, who is a husband, a father, and also has a podcast series about family life issues. And Qaim Moyeni, who will join us a little later in the interview. And he is also a father, a husband, and a member of the South African Muslim Council. So while we still have, or while we will wait for Qaim to join us a little later on, let's start the conversation with Tamsanga, and also known as Mr. T for me. Mr. T, good day. How are you?
Yeah. I'm fine, Miriam. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. All right, so the issue of a black tax. I mean, if
Mm.
people have not heard about black tax and are wondering what it could be, according to the Urban Dictionary, it is the extra money that Black professionals are expected to give every month to support their less fortunate family and extended families. Now, what does Black tax mean to you, Mr. T?
Well, I don't know. I don't want to call it black tax. I just want to call it Ubuntu. I just want to call it love, in the sense that, when I take care of my family, it's not a burden to me. I'm simply helping them progress in the same way somebody helped me progress when I was young. I am what I am because somebody gave something to me or towards my parents or towards my guardians in order for them to take care of me. So for me, black tax it's a strong term. I know it's something that we use in this day and age, but for me,
Mm-hmm.
well, my view is it's not black tax. It's just Ubuntu. It's just supporting. It's just loving.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we do have Nkazimulo Qaim on the line. Or did we lose him? I'd also like to get your opinion, Nkazimulo, if you are on the line. What does black tax mean to you?
Yes, Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Thank you very much for extending the invite on this topic. I think on my end, the reason I decided it was important to participate in this discussion is because there's a lot of stereotypes and false information about this concept, which is called black tax. And I think it's very much important to understand it from perspective of where it comes from and
Mm-hmm.
what do we understand it to be. You understand? Because it's a product, and it's a product and a result of colonialism and apartheid. Yeah, when
Mm-hmm.
for so many years people have been, disadvantaged and infringed in terms of access to economic bases, and there are few who are allowed a platform and an opportunity to then get a bit of means of participating in the economy, and the others don't. So when you
Mm-hmm.
take that form of practice and you look at it now in the space that we are in right now, it what people call black tax is basically what you understand as the one who makes it has to take care of the ones who haven't.
Mm-hmm.
Now, people have associated the word black tax with a lot of derogatory terms on the negative aspects of it. That the black people have to, take care of people of their families, and therefore this infringes their ability to participate economically with
Mm.
others, other races. You understand? So for me, I've never seen black tax as something uh, as something negative, because we are most of us are benefits of it. You know, we are where we are in right now because of someone who decided that instead of looking out for their own selfish interests, they would, come and participate and take care or allow umzala, umchana, umntana kamalume, umntana ka-auntie, umntana kagogo to have some form of means of going to school or whatever the film may be. And black
Mhm.
tax has always been seen as a financial thing only, but it exists in different ways, many different ways, you know. So for me, like the brother said, when he spoke of the word ubuntu, ukuthi indlela yokuthi umnotho or financial means of someone who now doesn't have as much limits as the others do to come back and take care and participate and look after and all of that. But because of now the negativity and that is always surrounded with us black people, it's now all of a sudden considered something negative. When everyone else do it, and that's how other nations actually grow. Family businesses, generational wealth or whatever you want to call it, is seen as that. You understand? So I think we
Mhm.
have to change how we see it. And in fact, the
Yeah.
word itself, black tax, because what is tax? Tax is something that it's an involuntary, it's a force. You have no choice. It's a fixed amount that is taken away from you by the government or whoever the case may be. Likewise, when we call it black tax, we now put it in our head as something negative, but it's not.
Mhm. Yes, I agree with both of you for sharing your sentiments, and um, it comes down to an understanding. Perhaps we have misunderstood the term Ubuntu and are now calling it black tax for whatever the reason may be. Because I'd like to think that there's absolutely nothing wrong with helping your family, your relatives, because if other races can do it, why can't we do it as black people? Why should we call it black tax? So it obviously comes down to understanding. So, Mr. Chuma, what is your take on this, and how can we educate people, educate Black people into understanding what Black text really is, and to make it something which is not negative. Instead, make it something that it is positive, and there's absolutely nothing wrong to help your fellow family.
Thank you very much, Miriam, for that question. And I like the fact that you emphasized what Kazimulo said also, in the sense that he spoke about. I did a bit of some research in terms of when was South Africa colonized. South Africa was colonized. The first instance, the first record of colonization is 1652, and in 1948, that's when apartheid was instituted into the constitution. And so if you do a calculation, that's about 342 years of colonialization by
Mhm.
different countries, the Dutch, the English. And so what then happens is this. You've got about three generations. Let me explain what I mean. You've got three generations. The last time life expectancy was for South Africa was checked, for the men, that was in 2019. For the men, it was 61 years, and for the women, it was 67 years. And so what that means is you've got about three or four or five generations that never accumulated wealth, that never got into high paying positions, that never got into businesses that brought back huge returns. And
Mhm.
so what we strive to do as black people was we strive to put food on the table. We strived to clothe each other. And maybe one child was taken to school and the 5 remained working in the fields. So there was no accumulation of generational wealth. So what it means is, as from 1994, as Black people, what we were doing is we started building up generational wealth. And the way where we started is we started by supporting one another. We should be, in fact, we should be supporting one another. Those that need to go to school, if I can afford to take somebody to school, let me take them to school. If I can afford to employ you or get you employment, let me do that. What am I doing? I'm beginning to address the imbalances of the past. So it's not black tax, it's us taking our race up to the level of the rest of the races in the world, where we were not allowed the opportunity to build ourselves and be at par with everyone else. So, in essence, we are about 342 years behind than the rest of the world. And so, what we're doing is trying to close that gap. And so, if it takes my cousin to help me to go to school, let it be. They are not losing, they're actually investing in generations to come. They're investing in me and in generations to come. And so what happens is I also go the extra length of investing in other people. So what are we doing? We're spreading the investment. We're not putting our eggs in one basket, but we're spreading the wealth. And so the education, the point for me there is 342 years needs to be addressed. And it will take about, think of it, 342 years. And the life expectancy now is about on maximum 68 years. So it means about 5 generations. So we've got about 5 generations starting from 1994 that need to address this poverty that has beset the black race.
Wow. Qaim,
So in essence, that's what I think, madam.
how should we support our relatives instead of just sending someone to school? Because I know sometimes people think that perhaps you can just send someone to school, pay for their education, send them to university, then they will get a job. And we've seen right now that the job market is not very easy to get into, with the employment rate of youth being very high, and with the pandemic that we are currently facing, and more and more people losing their jobs. It's not something that is easy to just do and say, I'm going to send someone to school and they're going to get a job. So how else can support come from us as Black people towards our families and relatives?
I think we need to first stop making other people's realities ours. You know, I think a lot of the pressure comes from the fact that we make other people's realities ours. And that comes with the fact that we assimilate within other people's communities, who are way ahead of us, And from that perspective, we then start to see these form of supports and these form of contributions and in any form of systems that we have created, like Abu Stockfair, Shayela, and all those type of things that our people do as now burdensome, because now you start to change your perspective and your narrative. Whereas when you are on the receiving end of it and it benefited you, no one complained about it. You understand? So once we change our narrative and once we change our reality, I mean, if you even come to Islam, for instance, yes, we are all Muslims, but it's what Islam is allowed is that it allowed us to intermingle and interact with different races and different nations who, despite the religion itself, have had other form of economic means that have advantaged them over us. Now, if you find yourself within that space, you then see yourself as, as you undermined, and you compare yourself when you compete with people who are running a completely different race from you. You understand? So we need to first change our reality and our narrative. And once we've changed our reality and our narrative, then we'll understand that these form of supports and these systems that we form and these commitments that we make are very much our own investment. For instance, if something happens to me and there's a system that believes that my child is your child too, you have a responsibility. I know for a fact that no matter whatever happens, I know my child is looked after. Likewise, you're doing that so that my child, when he grows up, can also look after someone else's child. And then that becomes a pattern of normalizing a means of living together. Do you understand? Well, because that is how things were done even in the past. If someone's had if in the past within our own tribes, if someone experienced famine and their cows die or their crops don't grow, one will go to another tribe or another family, borrow crops from them, allow those to grow, or get some cows, allow those cows to mate with the other cows, and once these multiply, you give him back his cows. It was normal. They had no fancy terms of it. It wasn't called black tax. It wasn't seen as something that one is in a better position of other. But you see, now when we take realities that are not ours, realities that are intermingled with ideas of capitalism, survival of the fittest, and those form of means, and don't want to live together, don't understand that actually when you do for self and you do for others, you're actually investing in yourself, and it doesn't mean one is above the other, because I can have this and you may have that, and when I help you with this, you may help me with that. You understand? So when we take other people's realities and we make it ours, and we take systems that don't go hand in hand with our own way of living, we then compete and consider these type of things, as systems, as support, as
All right.
as,
Uh,
as systems, as supports. We see them as systems, as supports, and we call them all these fancy terms that will make one seem as if one is above the other. But it's not. It's a means of investing. It's like we're all pouring into a pool. You come with your water, I come with my water. We all pour into a pool so that all of us can drink from it. So I
mhm,
think, just to answer your question in a nutshell, how we can help is that must first change what's in here, because there's no point of doing systems and support structures and all those type of things if we do not change how the narrative and how we look at these things. You understand? Once we change the
mhm,
narrative for it, once we change how we view it, once we change what we call it, like the word black text itself, then we would understand that it is a responsibility and an obligation upon you to make sure that if you are someone who has been blessed with a bakery, it doesn't make sense that why everyone who lives in your street doesn't have bread. You understand? Because
mhm,
when they have bread, someone else will have raisins, will know, oh, actually you can add raisins into bread, and now they've found different ways of doing things that will also benefit you as much as you benefit them. So
mhm,
when we need to start with how we see it. Before we talk about systems and supports and all those type of things, we need to change how we see it. And this comes with this idea of the class system. You understand? The class system
mhm.
that the better blacks, those who stay in the suburbs or the coconuts or whatever you
Yes.
want to call them, and the stereotypes come from both ends, those on the receiving end and those on the giving end. You understand? Those on the ones you find, a lot of people who've been blessed with financial success, but they don't know what to do, or they shun upon it. They'll call names because maybe they don't know how to speak a language, or they're speaking whatever the case may be, or they're speaking a certain accent, or whatever the case may be. Likewise, on the receiving end, you find people who like on the giving end, for instance, with people who think now because they've made it, they're better. They must move away from the hood, and whatever the caste is no longer part of them. They have all the negative things to say about it and all those type of things. Like for instance, whenever you find someone who's moved out of the gas, we now say, hey, that's a that's cool, this hey, poor. But when we were young, none of us considered it as poor because we were all living like that. It was never
It was
a
normal.
problem that there's a toilet outside because we all knew it to be that. But now when your reality starts to mix with other people, you then consider yourself and your people and how they live as, as lesser and yours is better. So we need to change how we see it.
All
In a
right.
nutshell, we need to
Cut
change
you off
our
there
narrative.
quickly then, Kazimula. I need to cut you off there quickly just to give Mr. Chuma a chance as the time is not on our side. Mr. Tia, I saw you agreeing there, shaking your head in agreement there. What do you think, or what would you like to comment on the question of support and how we should support and invest in the Black people?
Okay. For me, the first thing is the first way of supporting one another is to support each other's businesses as Black people. Now, if you think of it this way, $1 is said to revolve around the Jewish community 100 times before it leaves their community. Whilst statistics show that $1 rotates amongst the Black people for 15 minutes before it leaves the community. For me, that is a problem. I mean to
Mm-hmm.
say, if you're to think of it, if Mamelodi could actually have its own economy, we could have our own manufacturing plants, our own whatever kind of business in the location. And that money should circulate at least 100 times before it leaves the location. The first thing for me, let's invest in our own businesses, in the Black businesses. Let's support one another. Number two, how do we support one another? It's important never to forget where we come from, our parents. Supporting our parents is honoring them. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
there's a way of thinking that is there these days to say, if I've made it, it's time for me to enjoy myself. Well, you can't enjoy
Yes.
yourself without honoring those that took care of you in the past. I mean, we honor people by building them statues and giving them lifetime presidencies. We're giving them monies for life. Why can't we honor our parents in the same way by taking care of them? Not only our parents, but the uncles, the aunts that took care of us. Number three, another way of addressing this thing is when I take care. I'm looking at it also on a social perspective. When I take care of those fatherless children or those children that have got single parents, I'm also helping. I'm helping taking care of the Black community because if no one takes care of those children that have got single parents, then who will? So when we look at the orphans, when we look at those children who've been abandoned by their fathers or their mothers, I'm also helping. I'm shifting the mindset. I'm not saying why did they do it? Why did they have the children? The, that's past. What we need to do now is to say, how can we address the situation that is in front of us?
All right. So thank you for your comment. Nkazimula, closing comments on your side?
Um, yeah, closing comment on my side is that we have a long way to go. But I think I genuinely believe we're on the right path, especially this generation. We are doing a lot more better, considering the systems that are there, like social media and any other platform, that has allowed us to kind of find communities that have the same approach and perspective on making sure that, no matter who you are, no matter where you are, as long as you Black, we make sure that we will succeed together. And for me, I have a problem with these terms like Black tax, Black excellence, or Black business. I have a problem with that. I think these terms, what they do is that they set the bar low, and we operate in a mediocre perspective rather than making sure that we excel because we're Black. It's a business we support. It so happens to be Black. You understand? So these form of ideas and these form of things and these narratives, I'm very big on words. I do law, so in law we read a lot, and I also write sometimes. So I'm very fascinated with words, and I think words change how you see things. The more you use words,
Mhm.
the more you use them positively, the words you use to describe yourself or to describe the situation and your people and all of that is very important. So nothing can be done until we change how we see things, and that comes with the big word, which is narrative. And I'm doing it an injustice if we act like everything is going bad. And it's not. We are really moving forward. The fact that we can be here, have this conversation, on such a platform, it shows that we are moving forward and we're taking steps by step, But eventually we'll have our own Black radio, and inshallah we'll have our own Black media spaces which are there, and utilize them and have these conversations for our own communities, and speak about our own things and do our own things and change our own narrative, and not allow anyone, whichever community they come from, who doesn't understand our struggles and our problems, to dictate to us or tell us who we are and what we're going through. That Tracy Zilla was trending. I don't care who they say who is behind her, but the fact that we were allowing someone who's not from our community to tell us who we are, they don't
Mm-hmm.
understand that. They don't know who we are. They don't know where we come from. No one understands our struggles like we do. You understand? So in the spaces that we find ourselves in the communities that we find ourselves in, even in our religion itself, we find people who are 5 generations of Muslims who will constantly tell us about disbelief and all of that and all of that, whereas your mom and your dad or your grandmother, your aunt or whoever is from a different religion. So then the proximity is very close to you. You understand? So we are completely different. That's why we need African solutions for African problems. You understand? So, likewise, in a nutshell, I would say change the narrative, change how you see it, change what you call it, and then we'll be well on our way. Alhamdulillah.
Inshallah. And Allah does say in the Quran that He will not change the condition of a people until they change that which is in themselves. Thank you to both of you, Nkazimulo and Tamsanga, for joining me today to discuss this term black tax, and we need to abolish black tax. Black tax is something that just started recently, and it's something that can easily die as well, but it starts with us, and we have to make sure that we change the narrative and change the mindset and change the way people look at black tax. I've seen people make jokes about it, saying, okay, haha, you have to pay black tax as well. And it's nothing funny. I mean, there's nothing wrong with helping your family. So why should we laugh about it? Why should we make a joke about helping our family? It's a good thing. I feel good about helping my family, so I'm not worried if somebody makes a joke of it. But thank you once again to both of you. Have a lovely day. Tamsanga, good day, and Nkazibulo, same to you. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you.
Right, that was Tamsang Chuma and Nkazimula Moyeni discussing black tax. Is it a burden or is it a responsibility? And you've heard for yourself both mentioning that it is a responsibility, and the word, in fact, black tax should not be used. I think we should have another discussion on black excellence. You can leave your comments in the comment section below, or you can send them to us on WhatsApp. The number is 0617660355. We'll be right back.